Hi, everyone. We're going to start off with our chat with the words that we say at the beginning of every episode of The Fabulous Show with Fay and Fluffy. We're on a mission to be fabulous.
Bring joy, and most importantly,
read the house down.
My name is Kaleb Robertson. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a transgender masculine person. I am also Fluffy Soufflé, a non-binary drag performer whose pronouns are they, them. I am the gender diversity you've all been hearing about. I have then, of course, faced gender-based violence as a young girl, as a masculine-presenting woman, as a transgender person, and most unexpectedly, as a drag performer who just wanted to read some stories to kids. I have also had to recognize my own privilege as someone who now presents as a white man-ish, and my responsibility now to be aware of other people's safety and comfort. This week right now is Transgender Awareness Week, which ends on November 20th, which is internationally recognized as Transgender Day of Remembrance. Sadly, it began in 1999, and my community was given this day to specifically remember the lives of people who have lost their lives in the previous year due to anti-transgender violence. And so each year we read the names of the people who we have lost. And unfortunately, that doesn't include everybody, because we also have a lot of people in our community who may not be recognized, who don't get recognized in their deaths as who they lived in their life. And so we're taking that time this week to acknowledge all of those people of our community.
My name is JP Kane. My pronouns are he, him. I'm an educator with the TDSB, celebrating 27 years.
Ooh.
Currently, I am a kindergarten teacher. I am also drag performer Fay Slift. I began my performance career in 2007 at Buddies and Bad Times Theater. My first experience of being exposed to gender-based violence occurred in a place where all children should feel ultimately the safest. It occurred at home. I was a soft and gentle little boy. This very fact shook the foundations of my father's notion of masculinity. I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse at the hands of 2 different priests and also an uncle. At the age of 10, I was watching a documentary. I believe it was called The Human Animal, hosted by Desmond Morris. They were talking about homosexuality. I turned to my dad and I just asked, what does it mean to be homosexual? He paused, and his response was, if you are one, tell me now, and I will put you out of your misery. It was in that moment that I knew I was truly alone in my family. But over the years, I have found unconditional love and support in found family.
We've been doing story times together for over 7 years now, and have been thrilled to be invited to so many institutions in Toronto, the ROM, the AGO, Harbourfront Centre, as well as many schools, public libraries, community centers, and lots of neighborhood community events. Our first goal was to read some stories with kids and have some laughs. We also really wanted to take inspiration and provide safe spaces and inclusive spaces for our communities and our allies to gather together and enjoy the art of drag as a family. Drag has been happening for families forever. The experience has been incredible. We get the honor of sending out a message of joy, of celebrating diversity, of being proud of your family and of yourself, and interacting with some of the most incredible human beings out there, kids. Our events are magical and empowering. On occasion, we would receive emails which were a little bit offensive to us. They were often threatening and sometimes littered with Bible quotes. Instagram gives you an opportunity to block certain words. So I had to sit there and think of every offensive, nasty thing that we could be called so that I could block it. Occasionally, I'd have to revisit that list as a new word would sneak through, or people would find creative ways to spell things so that they would also get through. Because we always wanted our Instagram to be a place where families can scroll together. So we do not have any tolerance for any kind of negativity and hatred. And occasionally we see that on other posts of a library might be excited to have us out there, and then we scroll through the comments, and it's disheartening.
There have been so many changes in the story times, particularly around the past 8 months. However, with the arrival of the pandemic and the unhinged conspiracy theories and the hate, we have noticed an uptick in threats, which have become increasingly violent in nature. In the past 8 months, we've been experiencing real-life protesters, transphobes, homophobes, and actual Nazis. There is definitely a correlation between the rise of the anti-science, anti-vax, and conspiracy theorists, spewing rhetoric and vile accusations of us being groomers and pedophiles. A huge, massive shout out to brave librarians. Who have championed our story times from the inception of Fay and Fluffy Storytime. When we go to events now, we are actually embraced with open arms. We are actually also given detailed maps and clandestine routes in order to avoid the harassment. Often there are police presence in those spaces, which totally go against a lot of what we believe in. Again, we're reading stories to children, encouraging them to be proud of who they are, encouraging them to be proud of their families. Sending a message to communities all over Ontario that these spaces are safe and inclusive ones.
Needless to say, these dehumanizing threats have had an impact on our mental health, raising our already present anxiety as we go into new spaces. Recently, just in the last couple months in Mississauga, we were there with CBC's The National, which you can check out that episode that they did about violence against drag story times. We had no idea there was going to be anything there other than a beautiful time. What they actually captured was an invasion of our space. It was a public space outdoors. As we started our story time, suddenly we were filled with predominantly men, and this beautiful space that was filled with children and families suddenly had massive signage with vile statements, drones recording us, men standing in front of families recording themselves, people yelling out Bible quotes again, and just trying to interrupt and disrupt what was a time, turning these families into activists who were just there to enjoy some stories and have a nice afternoon. One of the most offensive sights that we saw that day was these groups of people have appropriated orange shirts. And they are now wearing orange shirts with the hashtag Save Our Children and a ill-written endorsement of military hero worship, which really just broke our hearts. Yeah. But we remained and we did our story time, and we will never back down.
Yeah, so in a few weeks, we will begin filming our second series for our show. We are recent recipients of the Shaw Rocket Fund Kids' Choice Award, where children and families across the country voted, and we won, and we beat out Paw Patrol.
As much as we love what we are doing, as much as we have been embraced by kids and families across Canada and around the world, children are still being harassed in schools. Several of the kids in our circle are being harassed, bullied, and facing physical violence in their schools based on their gender presentations. Families are being verbally assaulted at our shows, and we refuse to crawl away and hide in any proverbial closet, because what belongs in closets?
Clothes, not people.
So we want children to see their communities reflected around them in what we do. They deserve to see that, and the literacy they consume. It is our duty to be there for those children and uplift their voices and celebrate who they are as they have embraced us so much. Thank you so much.